The leadership of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is responsible for carrying out Srila Prabhupada's vision for making the world Krishna conscious. And Srila Prabhupada wanted many things as part of his vision for making the world Krishna conscious. He wanted temple communities in the urban areas. He wanted book publication and distribution. He wanted communication of the values and the teachings of the Krishna consciousness movement through all available media. He wanted festivals. He wanted restaurants. He wanted so many things. He also wanted demonstration rural communities based on the principles of Daiva Varnasrama. So, if we are going to fulfill Srila Prabhupada's desire to make the whole world Krishna conscious, we need to execute all of the plans that he set forth. And they all work together. If we're speaking in our books about simple, natural living, and we do not have any examples of simple, natural living, then it's less effective. What we say in the books is less effective. However, if we have our teachings about simple, natural living in our books, and we also have demonstration communities where people can come and observe simple, natural life according to the principles of Daiva Varnasrama, that makes everything more powerful. There's a synergy that is created. It is said that example is better than precept. So if we have actual functioning Daiva Varnasrama communities in a rural setting where people can actually observe a simple, natural life with a spiritual center and purpose, it will become very attractive to them. The current civilization, with its emphasis on ever-increasing material production and consumption, is destroying our planet. The material production and consumption is poisoning the air, it's poisoning the land, it's poisoning the water. It is causing people to engage in intense conflict for the control of material resources. It is also causing them to neglect the real purpose of human life. And this causes many psychological problems and social problems in our modern human civilization. So, the environmental crisis is attracting a lot of attention these days, but the scientists who have really studied the environmental crisis in greatest detail say it is really a spiritual problem that needs a spiritual solution. Why do we have this problem? It's because of the greed that's in the human heart. People want to produce and consume more and more material things. And in doing that, they're destroying their own environment, destroying the foundation for their own happy life. So the solution is, you have to go into the heart, you have to change the hearts of people and get them to live lives of voluntary simplicity with a spiritual purpose. But how can people do that? The solution is to have real examples that they can follow. Real examples of communities of people living simply and naturally according to Daiva Varnashram principles. This is very powerful. So if we want Krishna consciousness to spread all over the world in the most effective way possible, this has to be part of our movement. In Daiva Varnashrama, human society is arranged according to a system of varnas, occupational duties, and ashramas, social positions. And in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says he created this system. It's natural. It's not just part of Hinduism. It's a natural feature of human life. In every society, we see 4 occupational divisions. Some people are teachers, some people are administrators, some people are engaged in economic development, some people are engaged in arts and crafts. We see this in every society. We also see that in every society, people go through 4 stages of life. By biological arrangement, in the early stages of life, both boys and girls are celibate, but at a certain age, they develop sexually and they become attracted to each other. They enter into marriages, they have children, they enter into family life. Then, by nature's arrangement, at a certain stage, the woman can no longer have children, the husband can no longer work so hard, so they enter into retired life, and finally, death comes for them. And that means total renunciation. So these social and occupational divisions are present in every society. In Vedic society, however, people consciously organized their societies according to these occupational divisions and different stages of life. They organized them for material purposes simply because they understood this would be the best way to live, satisfy their material needs in this life and the next. However, there is a larger goal in Vedic civilization, which means that people's main goal of life is to attain liberation from the cycle of birth and death. It means restoring one's original consciousness, which we call Krishna consciousness. So, a Varnashram society that is organized in such a way as to encourage this topmost purpose of human life is called Daivi Varnashrama, or Divine Varnashrama. Now, one feature of a Daiva Varnashram system is that people are able to satisfy their material needs in the most simple, natural, and efficient way possible. And this generally meant providing the necessities on the basis of village life, providing food for the whole society based on agriculture and cow protection. In this way, people could satisfy their material needs very simply, naturally, and efficiently, while at the same time being able to put most of their human energy into developing God consciousness, Krishna consciousness, and becoming free from the cycle of birth and death. Today, today, we see that society is arranged in a different way. It's arranged in such a way that people are not able to satisfy the basic necessities of life in the most simple, natural, and efficient way possible. For example, I live in Los Angeles. There are 20 million people who live in the Los Angeles area. For their food, they depend on an elaborate, industrialized, mechanized system of agriculture where food is produced by huge corporations in many distant places in the United States and around the world. So for these 20 million people to live, they are depending on a very artificial arrangement for getting the most basic human necessity, food. If there were any kind of natural disaster that disrupted the transportation systems so that food could not be sent to this area from all parts of the world, from all parts of the United States, then those 20 million people would find themselves in a very, very difficult situation. But even in the absence of such a disaster, which could happen at any time due to an earthquake or a tsunami or some kind of social disturbance, the way of life is still very artificial, and it distracts people from the real goal of life. The modern economy depends upon ever-increasing material production and consumption. So for the whole system to continue working, the maximum number of people have to be engaged in working the maximum number of hours at the most productive rate, and they also have to be engaged in massive consumption of material things. So in this way, the individual is completely absorbed in material production and consumption, so that there is very little time left for developing God consciousness, Krishna consciousness, getting free from the cycle of birth and death, which is the real purpose of human life. So Srila Prabhupada, the founder of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, understood these things very well. He could look at the modern, industrialized, consumer-driven economy that is prominent in the world today and see that it was not very good for a few reasons. First of all, people are totally engaged in material production and consumption. They have very little time left for spiritual pursuits, especially spiritual pursuits that lead to the real goal of human life, liberation from the cycle of birth and death, restoring our original spiritual relationship in the spiritual world with the source of all conscious beings, Lord Krishna. Also, this sort of activity is very much discouraged in the modern human society. People are encouraged in another direction. They are encouraged to engage in more and more material production and consumption. So, what is the cure for this? The cure is ultimately Krishna consciousness. But in his plan for spreading Krishna consciousness throughout the world, Srila Prabhupada introduced several programs. First of all, education. We must know what the real purpose of human life is. That is very important. Second, we must have a proper diet. A vegetarian spiritual diet, a karma-free diet is very important. But third, we must also be able to live in the right way. We must be able to live in the most simple, natural, and efficient way possible. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada wanted to establish demonstration rural communities based on the principles of Daiva Varnasrama. So, Srila Prabhupada wanted many things. He wanted books that give people the proper knowledge about the real purpose of life and how to organize human society. He wanted a spiritual vegetarian diet. He wanted to give people non-material sources of satisfaction so that they could satisfy their needs for enjoyment without having to have the latest technological products, which are the production of which is actually destroying our planet. It's causing a huge ecological and environmental crisis. So he saw all these things, but he also saw there's need for an alternative way of life. There is a need for demonstration communities in which people can live together cooperatively for a higher purpose and satisfy their material needs in the most simple, natural, and efficient way possible while making progress towards the ultimate goal of human life, liberation from the cycle of birth and death, returning to the spiritual world to enjoy there eternally with the source of all conscious beings, Lord Sri Krishna. So it is very important, if we are going to succeed in our mission of introducing Krishna consciousness in the world, to follow this instruction of Srila Prabhupada's to make rural Daiva Varnasrama communities. Now, that doesn't mean that everyone will be living on a farm in a Daiva Varnasrama community. There would also be cities, small cities arranged very naturally and efficiently, as well as towns and villages. But the production of the food and the other necessities of human life would be done on a local level, so that this would be much better than the current situation. And with the time and energy that are saved in this more natural, simple, and efficient way of producing the necessities of life, people would have more energy, they would have more time, they would be in a more peaceful situation so that they could devote most of their human energy towards the higher goals of human existence.